Meet the team that doesn't just talk about impact, they ignite it. Jim Morris and producer Rachel.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I got the purple jacket on. I got the purple light in the background. I'm feeling the vibe today.
I love it. You're so snazzy.
Yeah, big day, big day. A lot of meetings.
Good for you. My hair is pulled back and I'm in a sweater and I'm pulling my press-on nails off.
You look comfy.
I am comfy.
Hell yeah.
Like, here goes another nail. That's what we're doing today. I'm like, I'm done. I'm over it. Like, take the mask off. They're fake nails. It's fine. We're done. God.
Energy. One of the things I want to talk about today is just when you have those depleting energy situations, scenarios, when you have overwhelm, if you're overthinking, if you've got a big to-do list, are you calling yourself out? I'll let that one sink in. Are you calling yourself out? Meaning, hey, I'm doing it again. Hey, I'm being negative. Hey, I shouldn't have had that inner talk. I think for me, when I get overwhelmed is usually when there's a big to-do list. I'm a list person, so I'll have 45 action items on a list and think I can accomplish it today. And then I'll start to get through it and realize there's not a chance in the world that I'm getting through 10 of these, let alone 46.
How do you stop yourself from spiraling, though? Because then I find myself being really hard on myself. Right. And then like I have to find the time elsewhere because we're not going to not do the things on the list. But then I start getting overwhelmed of trying to figure out how are we going to do the list, because you also know this. The list just gets longer every day. Like tomorrow it's just going to be longer. And so I get into this weird spiral about my schedule where I just feel like, how am I going to accomplish anything? Which is like also just wasting time, just sitting there spiraling out. So how do you stop yourself from doing that?
So the calling it out and awareness and recognition around it, I think, is step one, right? It reminds me of like, what's that old word phrase? It's like the first step towards change is understanding denial or something like that, right?
Is it like the first step towards change is admitting you need to change or something?
Basically,
like
basically. Yeah. And I think that self-talk, right? It gets overwhelming. It pops up when we might have think we're not like that anymore. We don't talk to ourselves that way, but years of repetition, years of situations, traumas, scenarios, right? Like it pops up. I think for me personally, when it comes to that stuff, identifying it is the biggest problem that I've ever had with it. So, and I'll give you a situation that changed my life. 2023, I went on a huge podcast, Brad Lee. I think it was number 20 at the time in the world. And it was legit, like not these BS like stats that you see around podcasts. And I flew to his studio and I walk in and it's in Vegas and it's this nice building and there's fountains outside and there's lakes and the mountain. It's picturesque, right? Like you look out the window, it's like mountains and fountains of water. And I grabbed a bottle of Voss water as I walked in and it said, welcome Jim Morris, right? And I'm on the screen and I'm like, cool. And they bring me this is the conference room and it's huge. It's nice. It's marble. And that's Brad's office. And here's the dressing room. And it's a legit dressing room. Like closed doors, the big bulbs on the top, powder, makeup, like full makeup stands. And John Gordon's coming out. He's in the podcast before me. John, I think, has written 20 bestseller books. He helps other people write books. He writes forwards. He's just crushing it in that realm, in that world. So I'm nervous. I know John's in there. I'm next. I just flew in from Nashville. I'm in Vegas. Just got dropped off car service. Like everything was so awesome and cool and just a vibe. And I drop the bottle of Voss water and the cap explodes and then water goes everywhere in the dressing room. And then the door opens to the studio and out comes John Gordon and Brad Lee. And right before the door opened, I was like, you're an idiot. Like, of course you would drop water right before they come out so you can embarrass yourself. And I stopped and I said, nope, not today. Nope. And I started laughing hysterically because I was like, water ain't stopping me today. Like, embarrassment ain't stopping me, right? Like, I deserve to be here. I took the flight. I invested in this. I've prepared. I've practiced. I know what I want to say. I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to let this situation drain my energy. And I believe I crushed that podcast. I believe it was one of the most authentic and true and real and vulnerable and honest Jim Morris leading up to that time in 2022, right? I think I've learned from that experience, and it has caused me to be more honest and real and vulnerable. So it's very pivotable in my life, because at the end of the day, the old Jim would have had no energy and would have jacked up that podcast. And it's something stupid, right? It's dropping a bottle of water. But when you put it in the context of two people I admire, two massive brands, someone who's written 20, like I think it was 19 bestsellers. He just came out with one that just hit bestseller again. And Brad Lee, who's multimillionaire, involved in so many different aspects. And I would have let that drain my energy. So I think identifying when it's happening and owning your energy, owning your mind, owning the situation and saying, no, this isn't going to happen today, right? Like, I'm going to leave that narrative behind. I am not going to let that thought drain my energy when it hits. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to identify it and recognize it. And every time I recognize and I identify those negative energy drains, those thoughts that are just depleting me, it gives me this sense of clarity. It gives me this sense of realness. It gives me this sense of I'm bigger and better than a negative thought that I don't even want in my brain, that I'd wished I didn't even create. And I don't have control over that sometimes because, they just come flooding in, right? Like, and it takes practice and preparation. And I think if you ask me today or in 2025, like, yeah, I have way less of those, but I still have them. They're not gone. I'm not invincible. And I've put in a lot of work. I've had 12 therapists on my podcast strategically to ask questions that could benefit and help me through these processes, right? Like, I've brought in people in my world, in my life. You've brought in people in my life, right?
Well, that's why I did my podcast, was like, I'm going through these problems. I'm going to be authentic and vulnerable and say, like, this is where I fucked up. I need help. Or do you relate to this? Or give me an authentic story related to this, right? Like, that's why I did it, is because I needed the advice from these people. And through that, other people will hopefully learn and grow and figure it out. I think that I love that podcast interview. It still exists, you guys. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it, because I think that was like the moment where you started to really step into like getting closer to who you are now. Does that make sense? Like, you could see
100%.
literally your energy shift through that podcast episode. And he wasn't easy on you. I think towards the, like, he was right. Like, he threw you some softballs, but he got tough with you.
He started calling me out for my hair, that I was balding, right? I think I'm like, I was 32 at the time when I shot it. And I've had a receding hairline since like 26. So, but the funny part about it, because I was so confident, because no one was stealing my energy. Like, he could have said, dude, your parents are addicted to OxyContin. They robbed my cousin. They're pieces of shit when they were drug addicts. Like, no one was stealing my energy. You could have dug as deep as you wanted, because I had harnessed the reality that I own it. I control it. And no matter what happens, today's a success. This podcast is a success. So when he started to talk about my hair, the first thing that came up was the story of why I shaved off all my hair. And also the story of how I helped someone else in my network because they were struggling with the same thing. So when I talked about that, saying like, I kept being the guy who would like spend 5 minutes in the car before a meeting because I had the window down and my little comb over got jacked up, and I didn't want you to see that I'm missing a little bit of hair on this side. So I'd have to do this and then comb it out. I shared that. I created content around that. Actually, you know what? Dr. Justin Mosley texted me about a month ago and said, you know what, man? I shaved my head. I feel so good about it now. And that podcast was 2 years ago. That piece of content was 3 years ago, whatever it was. So in real time, because I had such high energy, Brad did come after me, right? Brad did dig. That's his personality. That's what he does. He's opinionated and he loves his own opinion. And I actually admire that, right? Like, because he's a jokester. He likes to play. He likes to test people. He likes to see where they're at. Test me all you want. That was a growth period where I was just leaning into that energy and no one was taking it away. And that's a skill set that, yes, I don't live in 24/7, 365, but I can guarantee you that I live in it more than I ever have. And I'm constantly focused on it. So that identification of what is happening, what's draining my thoughts, what's draining my energy, let me identify it. It just gives you that immediate understanding of, okay, it's here. I see it. I definitely feel it. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to navigate more? How am I going to navigate this in the future? How am I going to navigate it right now? What am I going to do in this moment? And I think that's just so important.
Well, I thought it was great because number one, you own the narrative, right? You didn't meet like his big dick energy, I guess I could call it, with like more big dick energy. Does that make sense? You were like, yep, I shaved my head because I realized how ridiculous it was that every day I had to think about the lack of hair on my head. And instead I just shaved it and now I own it. Isn't it great? And I think even at the end, he was like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're number one. And then number two, I just felt like, as an interviewer, it's like such a low hanging fruit thing to talk about. Does that make sense? I was like, the Jim makes up so many different things in his life that you could talk about that, like, that's the thing that you're going to talk about, Brad. Like, come on. But I loved your reaction. You embodied high energy and you laughed about it because like you own that story. And I think that if you didn't own that story by that point in time, that conversation could have gone like so differently. But I love that. Own it, own your story. And it's okay to be like, yep, shaved my head. This is why. And you might have to be here one day too. But again, also it's his perception, right? Yeah. Like his fear is losing his hair. Hence why he brought it up for you. Because it's not a fear for you anymore. You embodied it, owned it. And we're like, no, I'm just going to shave it all off. We're done. And I loved it. Like, I love that whole arc. If you guys watch it, like, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. And like, you'll be so proud of Jim for literally just embodying that energy of like, yep, I own this. That's okay. Like,
it's a pivotal.
You have to think about your hair every day now, bud. I don't.
We were talking the other week on the show, on this show, about low hanging, like, decision making, like decisions that you don't need to make. They're low energy, but when you stack 40 decisions this week that are low energy, it has that compound. It starts to bring more energy to your life when you look at it from a weekly standpoint. And I gave the example of like, what's for dinner? Like, me and my wife just did it. We spent 20 minutes, 30 days, everything, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I'm so sick of making 3 low level decisions every day on top of 3,000 more decisions. Right. And I think for that situation, those decisions that I made in that studio that day, they were big, heavy decisions that in the time I thought they were low level. So I just urge you to think about this stuff, identify it, think about those thoughts. And it could be a small decision you make today that could be huge for your future. And that was a defining moment for me. That podcast changed my life because I changed who I was 3 seconds before I went into it. And I've never looked back, and I've stepped into a level of individualization that I've wished and wanted for 30 years of my life that I now live. And it just started by identifying that energy and moving through it and realizing I'm not okay with that low level energy and doing those low level energy things. I own it. It's my energy.
And then circling that back to our calendars, right? And then getting upset over the to-do list. It's really, are we going to embody the energy of being a leader? Are we going to embody the energy of being a business owner and the CEO of our brand? Then maybe we need to start outsourcing some of those tasks that are overwhelming us and taking too much time in our calendars. Maybe we have to be more realistic about how we feel like we have to be in control of everything. And sometimes it's okay to give up that control and let somebody else on your team handle it. And that's really where I'm taking this message, because for me, it's a huge thing. I'm starting to outsource more to my team members. And it really is just a matter of realizing when I sat down with that calendar and that to-do list, it's like, wait, why do I think I have to do all of these things?
True.
I'm being overwhelmed by something that I'm choosing to do, right? I'm choosing to be overwhelmed by it. And so I could easily choose the opposite and outsource it. And so I think that you guys, if you really want to embody the leader that you're trying to become, it really is just decision making. What's the next decision that's best for myself and for this business? Where can I outsource these tasks so I'm not getting overwhelmed, right? Embody the version of yourself, just like Jim embodied the version of himself before he stepped on that set with Brad Lee. Like, who is it that I'm becoming? And when you realize you're constantly in the state of becoming, I think that you'll be easier on yourself. But it really does start with choices. Do you want to be overwhelmed by your schedule and the to-do list every day? Or do you want to actually start to get like chisel it away and get down to the nitty gritty and getting those things off the schedule? And then if so, what does that mean? What do we have to do that? So
Let's
that's
go.
what I want to leave you with today.
Another mic drop ending from producer Rachel. Let's go.
All right, everybody. Have an amazing day. Bye.